Uno, dos, tataú. How do you say tattoo in Spanish? Tatué, tatuaje. Dos, tatuaje. How do you say session?
Sesión.
Sesión.
Sesión número 2 en este tatuaje.
Oh shit, dude. Fuck, you fucked it up. Alright guys, what's up? Welcome back to another vlog. Swallow my food. Okay, we got a back-to-back session. Client that we already did his lower arm, so we're gonna do the top part, some religious theme, a little silhouette in there of him and his dad, kind of fishing and stuff. It's gonna be a really dope piece. He just got a big arm, so we got 2 days to get all this detail and coverage, because there is a lot of detail, and you guys will see. Today should be fun. Got a lot of artists in the building today, so a lot of energy, but I'm gonna get my head down and start focusing on this tattoo, because we got a lot of work to do. Another back-to-back, guys. Let's get it. You already know how it is. We're gonna see how this client goes, and we're gonna make some more masterpieces like we always do. Let's go! I remember a long time ago someone passed out while putting the stencil on. Not even tattooing. It's ridiculous. And then fade it down. Okay. Then this is all open.
Yeah, that's all open.
You gotta get that dark shading going that way. You got to get all this dark shading for sure. I would even do some of this little sticky texture thing coming in, all this like grassy sticky stuff. I would do some of that stuff just so it's not like a harsh oval. It's supposed to look like he's coming out of a cave, you know, not like just like a black oval. Don't overdo the shading in here. You know, you could fade in a little bit, but don't overdo it, because you want to make sure that he pops out a lot. Leave it to the end. Do all the dark shit first, leave it to the end, look at the contrast, and then just a little bit, you know.
Look how this Jesus hill.
Yeah, all the black's like good, dude. I forgot what's going here.
It's the walkway. It's like
Oh,
it's like stepping stones, and it goes all the way up, and then there's like a Jesus cross right here, and it has like the light ambiance kind of going like that, you know?
Sick, dude. Dos, tataú. How do you say tattoo in Spanish? Tatué, tatuaje. Dos, tatuaje. How do you say session?
Sesión.
Sesión.
Sesión número 2 en este tatuaje.
Oh shit, dude. Fuck, you fucked it up. Fucked it up. Okay, anyways, guys, it's day 2 on the back-to-back. Day 1 went great. We got a lot done. We needed to do that because we have a lot to do today. But now I feel pretty good about focusing on the detail that we got to get in today, because it's a perfect amount. But super excited about it. Skin's taking it pretty well. The grays look really good on him. Today I'm actually using my Empire inks. Why? I don't know, because I fucking want to, and Empire's dope. So shout out to Empire. So when you see this finished piece, it'll be with Empire inks, and we're having a good time doing it. So I'm about to take a piss and get to work, because it's very important. There's a cheat code right there. Look at cheat code. Yeah, there he is.
Hello everyone.
The master himself, golf master himself.
So I have to be like delicate with it, but also that's painful.
And then it takes longer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this is a weird combination.
Yeah, dude.
Figuring out.
I know, dude.
Yeah.
I hate it.
What are you guys talking about?
Inner bicep shit. When you're tattooing the inner bicep, it's not always the easiest for everybody. Plus the skin in there is a little bouncy, so it's like the needle doesn't want to just penetrate so easily, so you got to take your time and make sure it's penetrating evenly, but it hurts and it's taking longer. And something that you should be able to get done like super fast ends up taking absurdly longer, just because you want the same quality on the inner bicep and same saturation. It's like, imagine if the whole sleeve is super well saturated, super well black, and then you open the inner bicep, it's all grayed out and just like nothing's really saturated. But the only way to get that is you have to take your time and really massage that needle in there while your client is dying and wishing he wasn't here, especially on the back-to-back, and it's like their second day on the inner bicep.
You gotta work through those saturated areas. Like
you have to do it kind of at a slower pace. I think it makes it to where, like, yeah, you think you're gonna do the same tattoo, like the outer bicep will actually take the same amount of time as the inner bicep. It does it kind of more often for me. I think like, oh, it's less work. It's gonna be faster, and then I still undershoot the time because it does take a while.
But that's the name of the game. I always end up over designing the inner bicep, and then I'm like, why the fuck did I do that? I should have just did something super negative, but that's the name of the game. We were able to keep the stencil on overnight, so that helped us with the prep. We didn't have no prep this morning, so we just hopped into it. Starting with the stuff around the face so I can get the contrast going and get kind of that, the darkness behind and around the face so that I know how dark to go in the beard and the face. And just taking it step by step. We got a lot done yesterday, so it gives us enough time to focus on getting all the solid black shapes and the contrast and the contouring of how much detail is up here on the top part. But it's a perfect amount of work for us to get done, and I'm excited to see how it comes together because the bottom part turned out so dope. I'm excited to see how all of it comes together. It's a cool composition too, so it'll be dope.
Do you have any important tips to do a Jesus piece? More like a portrait, Jesus portrait.
Well, they're all kind of the same. I mean, doing a portrait is doing a portrait, right? So it's all tackled the same way. But I think for the Jesus portraits and stuff, it's like any way that you can make it different and try to figure it, because everyone gets like Jesus portraits and stuff, and you can see a ton of them. But how can you use composition and like the design or like a really unique reference of Jesus or like orientation of his face and what he's doing, all this stuff? How can you get a different energy to the piece than everyone else's? And I think that's the key for any piece. It's not just with the Jesus pieces, it's with any piece, right? But especially for something that's so commonly done, it's like, how can we make this look like our own? And it's going to stand out a lot more, and then the client's really going to appreciate having something that's more unique, even though you're representing something that everyone else tries to represent. But again, that's with everything. It's not just with the Jesus portrait. So that's where our mindset should be when we're designing for our clients, you know?
So it has to come from the design and tattooing is secondary?
Yeah, 100%. It always starts with the design, because you can tattoo something perfectly, but if the design isn't good, you basically are perfectly applying an imperfect design. And it's like, at the end of the day, the energy and the feeling and all of that stuff is coming from the design, and then after that, it's about your ability to translate that energy or that drama, that dramatic feeling to the tattoo by knowing how to use your heavy blacks and use the open skin and all of that. But all that doesn't matter unless you have that going on in your design first. So that's why designing is so important.
So basically design is like somewhat like your signature style?
Yeah, it's like how your mind would put together something that is commonly done. Like, that's why it makes it more unique and stuff like that. It's like if you're gonna build a house, you don't just like start building the house. You need the blueprint first. You could be the best at building houses, but if you don't have a good blueprint for the house, like, what are you really even doing? And then you could just put a cookie cutter house up that everyone else does, but there's no way you're gonna stand out that way. So how can you stand out? You gotta put a lot of thought into the actual design. And ideally, because all art is this, but ideally something that can invoke an emotion when you look at it, or a feeling. Doesn't matter the feeling, it's just like, as long as it invokes an emotion when you look at it, then you'll have some sort of like visceral effect to the piece that anyone would react to, even that whether they like tattoos or not. They could look at it and then be like, whoa, like have this like kind of this feeling in the chest. And if you can get that across, you win.
I can also see like like a lot of tattoo artists, they're trying to cut corners, especially with the design.
Right.
And they ask, or they always wonder like why their tattoo is not up to par to other tattoo artists.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I would say there's a few reasons for that. A, because it takes more brain power to come up with something and take the time to like, okay, how should I do this? And trying to do it differently. It takes more brain power. And a lot of people take the path of least resistance, like the easiest way to do something, because, you know, if you're not doing the tattoo and having some passion behind it, it's literally you trying to just get through another session and get that money and then move on and all this stuff. And for some people, they're like, oh, this guy just wants a Jesus portrait. Okay, good. Like, this is gonna be, I'm just gonna get a picture of Jesus and I'm just gonna do it. And that's how they end up doing it. And then they're like, man, I don't know why my shit doesn't look that good. And then B, it's like they don't have enough guidance to know how to tackle or do something that is different. Like, what does that even mean? How do I do that? How do I compose it? I don't know how to do that. And that's why the designing is so important, or the design course is so important that we put out, because it gives you kind of a roadmap on how to express your uniqueness, because you get to learn how to actually do that.
Create your own style at the same time.
Yeah, 100%.
A lot of people ask, you know, how long do you take designing, and is it worth it designing for how long you're designing a session or a sleeve?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's worth it. At first, when you're first starting to get into this type of stuff, you're gonna have to put in a lot of extra effort for like not as much return, because you're learning how to do it and you're like putting it out there and stuff. So, but if you want to get ahead and you want to level up and stuff like that, you have to put the effort forth, because eventually you'll be able to get paid for your time, including the designing. Like, it'll all make sense monetarily, but you can't get there without like first developing the skills. So if you want to get ahead, you got to put the extra time in without someone telling you to do it, because a lot of people left to their own devices will just be lazy. But if you want to get ahead, you got to put that extra step forward.
Certain people have this elasticity that just bounces back, dude. They also are the kind of people that have the smoothest shading.
Yeah,
It's like you
right.
gotta really kind of like be
Because you don't have
careful.
to, yeah, right.
You know, like you end up having to be a little bit more like, you can put a little more force into it without completely tearing it up.
Because it's already kind of bouncy.
They have
so
a
it's like-
bouncy skin. It's just elasticity levels or whatever, and stuff and junk.
and junk and stuff.
And also, like, a lot of the times behind stuff, I'm doing transitions. So like, they're like minor transitions, but they still need a touch, and I can't just go and send them all black, because it flattens everything out.
Right, that's why I always have borders on everything. So like, I'll put a negative thing or like something that's gonna border it. Most of the time I'll include that into the design. Sometimes you wait till the next session and then, it'll bump up against something. But with this,
That
it's not
happens
that
over
bad.
here.
Yeah, exactly, right. It happens more over there more often. But the backside, I like to have something.
I'd rather, if I'm gonna design it out, I want it to look finished from the perceptible angle. So if I'm looking at it like a picture,
Right, exactly.
I need it to look fully capped out all the way into there.
Because wouldn't it be weird if like you had a border here but not a border over here?
Right.
It would feel backwards.
Or it's annoying when people have borders on both sides, but it's also like just here.
Oh
So you
yeah,
see
it's got a wrap.
That
and
really
then-
gets to me, bro.
That's why sizing is so important, because like,
That one picture I showed you.
yeah.
It just
We were
hella
talking about this
skin around that
yesterday.
shit, and then it just makes the tattoo look dark. Your brain just starts seeing it all wrong.
And then it's like,
Like, every good tattoo is bad if it's done the wrong size.
I hate the look of like, I call them floating tattoos.
They look like they're just
They're
kinda
just
sitting
floating on the arm as
there.
opposed
They're
to
also
like a part of the
they're
arm.
impossible to really connect, truly. Like,
And
you
then-
intentionally did it.
Right, 100%. But I want it to look like it is a part of the arm, not like on top
This
of the
kind of
arm.
shit.
Yeah, right.
Can't do that kind of shit on accident.
And it's funny is like,
or on, like, you know what I mean? Like,
I
you
just-
have to let there be the chance to have that there.
I
Like
actually
doing a
just took
soft
that
edge
over
back
that,
here.
because there was an edge
I
right
know, I
here,
saw-
but it's so
I know, I can
light,
tell.
I just went over it.
Yeah, that's why it's beneficial to have a soft edge back
Exactly,
here instead of
right.
it capped off. Then you're never gonna have an opportunity to do something like this.
Exactly, yeah.
The perfect little example right there. And I'll do that shit. If it's a barely little push and pull here and there, I'll overlap some stuff, even if it wasn't intending to be that way.
Especially if it's light enough and
Or
you can get
continue
away
out
with
these
it.
thorns out back onto the arm, depending on what you do on the inside.
Exactly, yeah,
it's gonna
exactly.
Be cool looking.
Right. And at that point, it's just how efficient can you pack some black right now? That's all I'm thinking about. Efficient.
I mean, it looks like the workload's so much when it's just stenciled lines, and then you like separate it with that black pack in the background, which actually should take the quickest. I think the black should be.
If you don't
one-
fuck around, yeah,
It
100%.
should be one of the quicker things.
Because if you pussyfoot around it, it
gonna
could
be-
take a long time.
Yeah, and you're almost never gonna get the feel unless you tackle it with intention.
I promise right here.
Yeah. Because it's like they're trying to get it to the edge here, but they like barely got it there, and they're like, I think the printout's fucking good enough.
It's funny, yeah, it's funny how if he did a mock-up on the iPad, I bet you it went around, but then
No.
when a lot of people don't know how to translate that to real life.
Totally. You gotta kind of overshoot just barely.
Well, I always tell people, like, print out a size that's like 20% bigger, 40% bigger, and 60% bigger. You'd be surprised how many times you use the 60% bigger.
And it scares people at first because they've never done something so big, and they just get intimidated by like the workload.
But in actual, yeah,
It's just less work.
It's, yeah,
They don't really get it. Like that dude being that size was
Right.
way less work than trying to do it on the freaking on the wrist.
right. And they're like, oh, but you can't make a silhouette that big, can you? I'm like, yeah, you can if the proportions make sense with everything
And
else.
it's clean work done with simplicity.
Right. And there's enough character in the silhouettes to make it
Right.
not look like a cover up.
Some random little
Yeah.
thing. Yeah, big old blob in there.
I'm actually using Empire inks today just for fun.
Did you?
So this is all Empire.
Stay here and did you do that with the bottom or no?
The bottoms and 10s.
Wouldn't it be fucked up if they one heeled blue and one heeled green and one heeled orange and one heeled like purple?
Undertones and shit.
Like,
Yeah.
they were all different. Because really, people talk about like, oh, that's I don't want to ever switch my ink up, and like, to be honest, I'll use 3 different types of ink in one fucking tattoo.
It doesn't matter.
It literally, my black is
It's
black.
more about how you're saturating stuff and how it's based on how it heals and stuff.
a packing black, and I need a shading tone, and then it's really they're gonna go together. I know.
I'll do a certain type of piece that has a lot of saturation and be like, damn, what ink is that? And it's like, it's the same ink.
Same fucking ink.
It's
I know
just-
guys who can get this black with the old ink,
Yeah.
which I don't know. It just seems hard. Because truthfully, I've been doing this for a long time, and like ink matters.
Yeah.
And if you got the kind of normal ass ink, it barely gets black.
What do you use?
I use triple black from Dynamic.
Yeah, triple black. At least it's like one of those like
It's a pack
really
black.
dark blacks.
It heals dark.
Because
And it doesn't heal shiny. Like a Zuper is straight through. Only Zuper can have like a shiny heel if you don't know how to like
dilute it.
dilute it properly. you
Yeah,
know?
I dilute it for sure. People get scared of diluting part because they're like, whoa,
How
adding
much
water.
do you do, you know?
It's like 20% or less, 15%, something like that. Anything just to break up the thickness a little bit, and then it ends up being pretty good. But I guess I'm just so used to it at this point.
It's just a drop of water to me.
Yeah,
It literally just feels like bloop, and
Yeah.
you're good.
yeah, it's not a big deal.
You can even run your squirt bottle and just kind of like flicker it into your fucking black.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Or sometimes I'll put a dark gray wash in the bottom of the ink cap of the black.
Totally.
Because it's watery enough to water it down,
I
but it's
use-
also going to keep the pigment.
I use Dynamic and Triple Black. So Dynamic is actually my dark gray tone.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what I mean? So it's solid, but it's also smooth. A bullet, it's like a workable ink.
Right.
Enough for me to do all my mids to like dark to mids, and then everything light is just a breakdown off the Dynamic.
Because I used to use Dynamic, like the regular black.
Just
I didn't
for
like
everything.
it. Yeah, I didn't like it.
Not when you're really trying to get the heel to like in the mouth.
Yeah.
Along the nose line ridge, his eyebrow compared to his hair, it's hard to get those tone separations with
Yeah.
just Dynamic.
Yeah, exactly.
Because it's
yeah.
like it'll just they start unifying. It's a weird ink. It's an ink that really wants to feel like all be the same tone.
Because
So
you
if
want the
utilize
subtleties,
that-
you want the fucking.
Yeah, but you can also utilize its workability as a mid-tone.
Yeah.
People are scared, like they think they need a mid-tone that says mid-tone on the bottle, like a mid-gray or whatever the fuck they call it.
But it's also in how you apply it.
Totally. I need
Yeah.
a darker ink so that like when I do like mid-tones, I'm actually creating definite marks instead of haphazard like overworking of the skin that's gonna heal back down.
Yeah, it's
light.
you're going in with intention instead of building up
Yeah,
to some shit.
and I'd much rather see a pepper than have a shade decrease fucking 5 times its fucking darkness.
You can hit something 10 times with a light gray, it'll look dark as fuck.
It
Still a
doesn't
light
matter
gray.
how dark you
Still a
get
light
it,
gray.
it's always gonna heal light.
That's
You
why
can literally pack it black and it'll heal like fucking shading.
100%. That's why you got to know your tones
And
and know
guys
your
work that way.
washes. 100%.
But
yeah.
honestly, it's more painful to work that way. I
Yeah.
think the slight peppering or a little tiny bit of a needle mark in there actually heals better than a perfect smooth tone, which is it's a give and take in there. Your darkest tones can be done in a pepper because most of the time you're overshading it with like a mid-tone anyway.
Right, and it fills in the
Which it
space.
fills in
and,
those spaces.
Yeah.
So then you can work faster in like your form shading or like your actual like all this
right,
that
yeah.
darkest stuff,
Exactly.
and then you mid up over the top of it, and it fills all your gaps. And you're like,
Exactly.
well, I could have sat there and babied every little spot.
I went through and I was like,
Oh, you can see it, but it's better anyway. It heals better. It looks the same.
It does.
If it looks the same and it heals better, I'm always gonna do the faster technique.
Plus,
faster
like-
to me isn't just cutting corners. It's like it's like a
Plus,
more
faster's
efficient.
not even, yeah, it's like more efficient
Yeah.
and then it's more intention. And it's
exactly.
like, you could tell when someone was tattooed with intention or if you were figuring it out as you were tattooing.
That looks like a sketch.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
it just honestly, it's such timid marks that the heel will never truly look proper. It's
100%.
like renderings always look better
Like this
than
could look
sketches.
like a blob of just crap if you didn't know like
It can.
exactly how you're gonna do it.
And
exactly how
around
you're
every
gonna-
one of these, if you don't know how to fucking execute black immediately, then you're not gonna get those to stay dark like that.
Imagine
You'll go around them and
building
then
up around that. And
They
you're
do.
just like,
They fucking take mid gray and they shade it in,
it would take so long.
and then later on they go, it needs to be darker, and then they pack black over the mid gray area.
yeah.
Like you can.
You coulda just went there.
You can gray line, but you can't gray shade and then black pack. Scar
No.
tissue.
Oh, you're gonna fuck it up, dude.
But they're also.
And it probably won't even heal black
They're
either.
using light ass tones and like really getting the saturation of it, and now that's done. You can't keep tattooing over that area.
And then even if you saturated like a light gray and it looks black, and then you went over it with black, I don't think it would be
No,
black
because
because
it
you already
still
filled
kicks
it.
out.
You already filled it
It's
so
the
much.
damage that kicks it out, not
Yeah.
so much the actual ink you use. So like it's a combination between whatever ink you used and the amount of trauma you put into the skin at any given point, which will correlate to how it heals and how dark it heals at that spot, you know?
Plus, I think there's a capacity in the pores in the skin and in how much pigment you could push in there.
Yeah.
And then if you try to just go, oh, it doesn't mean it's gonna take
It'll
it.
never take it. You almost have to do it fast. You almost like, that's why every longer tattooer or tattooer has been going over 10 years doesn't tattoo in the slowest way you can possibly tattoo. Especially
Yeah.
like they get in there and they get out of there.
So there is like a very like true statement to some of those like, yeah, just get in there and get it. Like
Yeah,
that
like
type
Japanese
of vibe.
or traditional work.
Like stop bullshitting around with it. Like fucking.
That's how I learned how to tattoo black stuff, is just going back to Neo and going back to trad and learning how to really get a solid black compared to like these other trad guys who I thought I was a better artist than, but they were making their black so much darker than mine, you know? Like, I'm like, how the fuck?
Yes, 100%.
Why am I a better artist than you and you do this better than me? But there's always something you can take from those styles that don't actually like feel like they belong in your like toolbox or toolkit, you know?
That's why like when you watch Ink Master, there'll be like some crazy talented fucking artists, but then like the traditional guy, he'll go a little bit further, not because of his artistry,
true.
but it's because he has a sense of like some, like I know how to get
Technical
real solid black
fucking-
in there.
He
or
knows
real-
what he's doing with
Yeah.
the tattooing.
Right.
They are, I think, better tattooers than artists.
Sure.
Yeah, people combine that all the time. Oh, I'm a tattoo artist. Like, well, rarely do I ever see anybody drawing their piece completely on the skin anymore.
Right. Yeah.
Some guys do. I know some.
I think
some
it's-
guys that do it. But to get a rendering, like if you want some black and gray realism, you're not really gonna get some guy that's gonna sit there and draw out your fucking.
Right,
Jesus.
but I also think there is people that do realism and use references and everything that don't necessarily understand what's happening in the
gotta
reference,
know.
and they get away with doing stuff
Yeah.
and all this stuff. But like there is a language to it all.
It's almost a cop out sometimes too, because it's like it could be easier considered if you don't put so much scrutiny into like the technical cleanness,
Right,
and the,
yeah.
and the heel.
Right.
You can get away with doing this like little rose that's all shady, and you think you just busted out some badass stuff when it comes back about worse than it did before they got the tattoo.
Right.
So you might as well have not done it because you're doing it all over again anyway.
Exactly. I agree.
There's a look that you can see that you know it's gonna heal good, and that's what I'm only looking for in any piece. I don't
Me
even
too.
care about
And I want like the strength in it. I want to feel like, okay, this is fucking.
foundational.
Yeah, because I could tell by looking at something immediately whether it's like done to its optimum degree or not, just by how like, just like strength.
Yeah, exactly.
That shit that you know when it heals, it's like, oh, that's gonna be perfect.
Yeah.
Not just like it looks good when it was fresh. It's like,
And it could be a design that I wouldn't even do, and I'm just like, damn.
yeah,
Like a trad tattoo that has nothing to do with what I like to do in tattooing. I don't even want to do anything like it, but I'm also like, fuck, that's probably one of the best tattoos I've ever seen, or something like that. You know, It happens all the time, especially for color work. I really don't even like the way it looks. Truly, barely like color paintings.
right,
But black and gray paintings are also dull, so it's like color paintings are probably better. When I look at them.
100%. Yeah, 100%.
But anyway, when I look at a color tattoo, I'm just like, sometimes I'm like, fuck, man, that shit's just a beautifully done, ugly tattoo.
I know. Well, just when you think about the idea that you have to wear that like
Yeah.
on your
All the time,
skin,
that's the color tone.
and it feels and looks like separate from your skin. That's what I don't like about
Big
color.
old blue tattoo.
Yeah, it's exactly. It's like the black and gray utilizes skin tone, so it looks like it's a part of your
goes with
skin.
everything.
It harmonizes with your skin, as opposed to color. It's just like
Now it's a
Put on
now
there.
it's clashing with your shirt constantly.
all of it.
Or something like that, you know?
Yeah,
Or
100%.
girls in her wedding dress and she has like a bunch of colored work all over it. It almost seems like there's like this tone that's being throwing off the wedding dress classiness, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
But black and gray doesn't really do that in my eyes when I see like a black and gray tattoo.
No, it's like timeless classic
Yeah,
on
it
the
almost
skin.
feels more classy.
But that's why it's even more important to design in like the right proportions, the right composition, the right thing. Because
Because they're
like,
gonna be viewed in moments like that.
yeah,
People
it-
think they're just, oh, cool. You know, it's just like a post for your fucking Instagram. Like,
No,
this
it's
thing
like-
walks around for the rest
you're
of their
literally adding or taking away from their aesthetic depending on how you do it. And it's like you're adding an accessory to their body and you want it to look like it's a part of it. Like it's jewelry. It's like you're fucking.
Yeah, and that's why it's better to spend the time on it. And also, like, for the customer to spend the money on it, you got to spend the time on it, so it's reciprocal.
Right.
I like the overall look of the whole thing, though. It's gonna be a dope ass sleeve. Watch.
Thanks, man. Yeah, that makes sense.
Watching this one borders out this, and all like the thorns are like popped up through the negative.
I know. I might even re-hit some of the blacks down there too.
Undertone on them through like when I do a piece next to it, I always like tone back underneath.
Oh, always.
Yeah.
I really like the leaves that you got it down here because I've even been looking at like
Yeah.
The bamboo vibe.
about like putting it towards the bottom one.
Yeah,
that I have.
totally. Once you know what you're doing here, and then you like throw some of them reaching over, it looks so sick like that.
And those are just borders. That's what I was saying, is like the backside, I never just fade out. I mean, I had to fade this out a little bit, but even in this situation, I was like, no, I need a border, so I at least
You
put the leaves
establish
there.
yourselves at like an exit point.
Right, exactly.
Instead of just blah, 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 blah.
Because when people do those half-face animals and stuff on the arm and it just ends randomly on both sides, I hate it. So I'd rather overlap some stuff.
Because there's a dead zone in the piece, and I've done it.
No, I've done it
You
too,
only
but
can
that's
know
why.
until you do it.
Yeah.
You know, you don't know until you do it. But yeah, you're right. It's harder to bring those two pieces together, or you gotta like add silhouetting over the top of your already work.
Because to me, it's all about layering and stuff. And if you had an opportunity to layer something over and you didn't, you can't layer something over something that's
it's
already
done
done.
haphazardly or second, like it's on a back foot kind of thing.
Yeah.
Instead of it being the intentional thing that they intend to do in the first place. Yeah, and that happens, I think, in one spot of every one of my tattoos.
Yeah.
There's
right.
some micro spot, and it gets less and less over the years. But there's just an aspect that I know I can always improve on. Like,
But that's where the getting better part is, and like that's why I think a lot of it is designing and stuff, because you know how to tattoo, bro, and it's just like, and the designing too, in a sense that like what references you pick, or what is the overall contrast, or how tonal or how not tonal, all this
freedom
stuff.
you get on,
it's like
on the
you get a
person.
different look based on the different reference of, you know, is the wolf more toned over or more bright, or is it more this or is it more that? You try different shit, layer some shit over. Oh, it's more tonal, but I layered some negative stuff over it and then did this and then.
Like I've done pieces that were some of my best work, and then at the end of the sleeve, it wasn't complementing as much as it did when it was by itself or something
Right,
like that. you know?
right, 100%.
It's it kind of rears its ugly head every once in a while on a piece that, and you know what happens most of the time is when it's on a piece that somebody's really adamant about an aspect that I don't so much want to argue with them.
Yeah.
I do want to give them what they're asking for in a sense, so I'll budge on something, and I can see that in the result of it, that budging, that giving in process. I can see it in the tattoo. I'm like, see, this is kind of why I didn't want to fucking do this thing. It's like,
Yeah, and it's tough because I get a lot of the shit that I get is really personal, random stuff. I don't get like,
Yeah,
I
me
want a
too.
Chicano girl with a thing and with some
That's
money.
easy.
That's easy.
that's so easy to design. This shit's like, I want it to represent all my memories of my fucking life. And you're like,
Yeah,
"Whoa."
and that's not how you pitched it to me, but
No, I
like,
know, I know.
but like, yes, that is the vibe.
But yeah,
right?
it's like
but
that
to be
on
able to
everybody.
meet the aesthetic, good tattoo, good composition with the story, that's like hard.
Yeah,
but
it's a
it
tango.
could, like, you know that the baseball sleeve I did, it had like Polaroids and it's a portrait of him when he was a kid and he's a pro baseball player and stuff.
I think so.
But
think I
that
saw
one was
it.
all personal shit, and I
Yeah,
had
yeah.
to figure out a way to make
How am I
it.
gonna get all these essential items in here?
And it's one of my favorites, but it was hard. It was hard to design.
Totally. But I kind of am now used to doing these, having a bunch of different types of variables, that as long as like the person's open-minded, I can spin it into something that's really fun to do.
Right,
'Cause I
and-
actually would
yeah.
rather do these random variables like this than just the typical, like the easy stuff. It does like, okay, that's an easy design day.
Right.
But it's not as
I don't
fulfilling.
like feeling like, oh, it's an easy design day, because then it automatically puts me in a position where I'm not gonna try
I'm not
anything
in
new.
a go mode.
Yeah.
I'm not in attack mode. And, yeah. I get it.
That's why I've always promoted my work as something like, oh, I'm a storyteller, I'm a this, I'm a that, because it makes them comfortable with sharing some specific stuff, but allows me to be like, okay, here's my stuff, but whatever you think to do with it, like however you want to do it. And I'm like, okay, let me try some.
You get to the cream of the crop too.
Because I would hate to get stuck in a position where it's just like, oh, I just want like single reference stuff, and it's just like,
Well, you can get kind of drowned out. It almost becomes a little bit of a monotonous day.
it's monotonous, yeah.
I did that for a while. You know, people just love your roses so much, or love your just portraits, and it's like the thing you've been kind of focusing on trying to promote.
Right.
And then you can kind of blackball yourself.
And then you're
a
like,
little
fuck, dude, I just,
bit. I don't really want to do fucking the same thing every day. Jeez,
Yeah.
why did I do this to myself?
I used to try to do lettering, but then I got so quickly sick and tired of being the lettering guy
Yeah.
And I was like, this is fucking.
No, and the Greek mythology and all
Yeah,
that,
exactly.
it's come in phases through my life, through the career.
And people love the Greek mythology shit, but at the same time, it's like,
How many times am I going to do the same statues? That's the truth.
yeah. So even when I do those, I'm still treating it like as if I'm trying to do something completely different. Like whether it's the composition or blowing up an image hella big and whatever
Splitting it all cool, let it
yeah,
crumble off.
exactly.
That
like,
stuff's fun. Yeah, I
Whatever
like it when
you
they
can
really
do.
give you like the ability to kind of go off on each image, and it gives you it's an allowance.
And sometimes it's like it's
gotta-
just one trick that you put in there that makes the whole piece.
Totally.
You know?
And they're like, do more of that on the next one.
Yeah.
You're like,
yeah.
"Alright,
You're like,
gotcha."
all right, shit.
Easy. Yeah, most clients start off as these timid kind of decision makers, and then at the end of our experience together, they're just like bold about the decisions they make. And I think that the way that you approach each client can really go towards or away from that kind of.
You either make them a believer or you
Or you
fucking.
just make constantly judging you about whatever you're doing. Like, are you sure this and that and this? I'm like, bro, I'm sure.
Yeah.
But I think that people who get those responses from their clients are like goading their clients into it. I think there's a behavior and like a way that you can interact with your clients that can create more confidence or less confidence in them.
Yeah, 100%. And it's how you explain. It's how you say shit. It's how you talk about the work. It's how you either sound confident and you know what you're doing, or you have like a hesitation, or you're just kind of skimming over it, but they want to know. And like, so I'll just sometimes when I send a piece, I'll describe why I made a decision,
Oh, dude, they love it.
just because it makes it like, oh, you actually thought about.
For me?
Yeah.
And you're like, yeah, for you. I thought about this for
I
you.
was like, oh, I heard you mention this thing, so I added this thing, or you know.
Yeah, and they love because honestly they don't think of those things.
Right.
And it would be we wouldn't be getting as much money, or we wouldn't have as much clients if they could think of this stuff.
Yeah, that's the. I'm not just here just to apply. I'm
Any
like,
guy could just make any crazy story. Like, and honestly, it takes a measuring kind of process. That's like measure twice, do
Yeah.
once kind of thing to
Right.
get any of this stuff. And that's what I think a lot of the beginning tattooers are struggling with is creating like intention and meaning through the piece, and not creating a collage. And collages can
Yeah.
also be
Right.
connected and meaningful, but when it's just a collage of imagery, even though they're doing their best work on every single aspect of the tattoo, they look at the thing at the end and don't see what they see in some other kind of constructed pieces that way, which may even be less technical.
or they get stuck in trying to do like whatever would be popular online and
Exactly.
like do those type of tattoos.
And then
but-
trying to make a sleeve out of all those, easy little seller points, like a little sparrow here, a little rose there.
Right.
You could do those in like a more trad or black and gray, like little tiny style, and they look cool like that when they're all just separate.
Yeah,
I actually kind of like
patchwork.
the look of it,
Yeah.
But I don't like doing it.
Yeah, and it's like you have to do that intentionally. Some people don't know the difference between like the sleeve work and then the patchwork, so they start with the patchwork but then want the sleeve work.
Connecting it all.
And it's like it's not how it works. You either pick this way or that way. You know.
You have to decide before you even start.
Yeah.
And I've getting a lot more like the kind of sleeves that I want to when I give people a tiny bit of an ultimatum. Like, you have to know kind of what we're gonna do. with
Yeah, like
arm.
what's the vibe? It's like, do you want this kind of look?
You
You
can't
want
just not know what we're gonna do.
No.
We really got to talk about it, or it's really irresponsible to even start the process.
I always treat every client like I'm doing a project, not a piece. Like
Yeah.
we're starting a project, not a.
It's not a let's
piece.
go and see what happens as we go.
Like, oh, I'll just get a forearm piece for now, and then I'll decide whether I'm doing patchwork or not. I'm like, no. We got to figure out what's the whole
If we just start a
vibe.
road trip and don't even know where the hell we're going,
Yeah,
we're just
sounds
running out of
fun.
gas, like not get wherever we want to go.
Yeah,
Because there are so many opinions in tattooing,
yeah.
and there are ways to look at something in like so many different ways. You never know when something's going to compliment.
And for the viewers, it's like it's cool to have someone opposing or like someone else.
Because they're
Not
like,
just
yeah,
me
see, that's
saying
what I
it.
was thinking.
Yeah.
It almost gives somebody else like their voice. You're like telling them, because there's so many people that their opinions differ on the approach of a tattoo, whether
Right.
they want to go delicately and be extremely like technical and precise, and then there are guys that just like go for large and go for fucking broke.
Exactly.
Don't care
Yeah.
if a line has a little bit of faded edge on it or something
Right,
like that.
exactly.
And then there's also like advice to give those people.
Right, because each of those can take something from the other person.
You know?
Yeah.
And I don't think that it's be like like, oh, well, you need to get more technically precise. I'm like, well, like, what if the guy's not really aiming for that, and you might just turn him off? Like, that's the only way to.
Plus, like, there's some technically precise stuff that people harp about, especially on bigger pieces, that actually don't matter when it heals, and it's just like, all right, but you're like doing stuff that's not actually.
They're taught us how to do the opposite. Like, they're over here fucking double lining their 3 and like scraping their 3 along, and they're like, they're doing tutorials on
when
Instagram.
You get fucking
like, so this is how you do the delicate line work, and they're like over here raking their lines off. Or like just building them like into like a 9 thickness from the 3 liner. And I'm
right.
Like, well, I mean, that's not how I was taught how to do it. I don't know who the fuck taught you guys, but like, I don't think that. And
they could take something from the more aggressive approach of just like, because even if you still had to double line it, it's like, bro, you get in there with like a 7 liner, boom, get a
done.
real. But you know why though? They're not used to running past line, like 1 pass lines and shit.
That's what it is.
So it's just like, they don't get that.
See, don't tattoo confident stuff.
They have only ever sketched a line.
Yeah,
you know.
Totally.
That's the shitty
But then
part.
they get them in something big and they can't execute the
like a silhouette or something. You got to fucking be able to.
Because their gray line takes 4 hours.
Yeah.
Because the process of making
they gray line, then they black, then they kind of
too much. Yeah, I think that. But then when you go back to little ones after you've done big ones, bro, they're like the easiest fucking things you ever did, and you're not sitting there worrying about a little texture here or there. Like with those little ones, you're like shading and rendering this face with a 3 liner.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it comes back and it's just peppered and light.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I want the strength in it. I want the power.
Could the 7 mag still get in there on the cheek? You know, even if it's a little portrait.
100% it could.
In there with like a
100%.
something that's gonna make a true mark. You know.
Just over committing to the 3 liner shading for just no real reason. Just.
Oh, it's just my style.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
I'm like, bro, you could whip out a mag right now, easy.
Yeah.
And it'll probably be more saturated.
Yeah, and you can even still create pepper. Like if you have a 9 or a 7 mag, those smaller mags, if you do them in the right speed, you actually still create a grain. And then you can simulate that grain. Hell, you could do it with a 15 mag if you like move it the right way.
100%, you could.
You can see those tiny little single needle marks that actually look a lot like a flick of a liner, but you're doing it in like 0 seconds.
That's why I think a lot of artists can benefit from understanding the mechanics of the needle actually hitting the skin and what's happening, because then you can figure out how to do any type of effect because you know what's actually happening, not just like.
Or if you're making a mistake, you can fix it on the spot too.
Yeah.
If you're seeing something kind of not working right.
Some tattoo artists forget that it's a needle. They just like, they know it's a machine and they put it on the skin and it does something. So then they'll just do this.
And they're
and
not
expect
thinking
it to be
about
black.
what their other hands are feeling. You know, like right when you penetrate, you feel the.
Yeah. The
You're
feedback.
not thinking about that feedback. They're just trying to see the mark they're making, and they're not thinking about the level of penetration.
Right, exactly.
Like I can know I'm penetrating the skin even when there's water and there's no mark.
Oh, I don't need to know where I don't even need to know where I'm hitting. I could feel where I'm hitting.
You know how deep you're going.
Yeah.
You know how black something's going. If you're hyper aware of the level of black in your tube at all times, then your hand pressure becomes a second nature thing.
Yeah.
Because you know that you can push and you can rake out only in certain situations. You don't have the lightest tone and start pushing.
Yeah.
Unless you were trying to overly saturate some like background area that's gray, but you don't do that on the cheek or the face.
Right.
You build a little bit, but you also do it with the mid-tone. So it's just like has like an ease or like a instant kind of mark making situation.
The only time I would build
the skin less.
build on like a face or a cheek or something is if like it's one of those. Well, if it's one of those references that the whole face is subtleties of light gray. There is
portrait
no
stuff more.
Yeah,
on this kind of work, it has a little bit more of a sectioned out kind of cell shaded.
Yeah, because it's heavier shadowed,
Yeah.
so like
the contrast
they're
is
way
so,
more obvious.
Yeah, I like that look anyway too. Though you could create a deeper look. You can also render it fully and not create an overly shadowed thing because there's so much that skin.
It's purposeful. It's purposeful shadows. So it's like if you did this, some people would be scared to hit this like black in the cheek.
They are
but it's
so
like,
scared of that.
But it's like that's if you don't do that,
Then
it won't
flattens
look
out
right.
and then that's why they're like inaccurate.
Yeah.
Because they're scared to put certain tones in. Man,
Right.
I've been there though. So
I've been
I
there
get
too.
it.
That's how we know.
It's just better to never deny your inadequacies.
Always
And you're
address
not
them.
gonna grow.
Yeah. That's why it's like being around these guys, it's like I gradually will get better over time, and I have without me even noticing it until later on because it's very gradual. But at least it keeps me in a steady state of like, all right, I can't just fall behind on everybody. I gotta try and
I
shit,
can't be
doing
fucking
shit.
last place here, even though it's not a race.
It's not a race
My
at all.
brain
It's
will
just-
not accept that it's not a race. It'll always be a race forever until I die. The last breath I go, I was like, oh, first place.
I think you would always gradually get better if you were around actually good artists.
Yeah, and I think when you're young, you are around better artists than you all the time.
The only problem is when you're young and you're first starting out, you don't really know what real good tattoos are like. So you're like, oh, everyone here is better than me, but they are not even doing good work.
Good apprenticeships totally matter.
Yeah.
When you could see the proof in the pudding and not just having a guy bullshitting you into thinking that his stuff is really good. Like that was what happened with me a lot. You know, early on, I just didn't know what good tattooing was, because in like 2009, like there wasn't too many people in my town that were doing like anything that I would see myself wanting to do now. You know, I don't think anybody was really.
And then all you know is when you're a young artist, you see how confident those people are tattooing, and you're like, they must be good. They must be good.
Yeah, look at them. You fucking not scared of shit.
Yeah, exactly.
But also, like, you don't ever see him do anything great. You just see him do tat.
But you always have an excuse in your head. Like, it almost looks better to you because of their confidence.
Yeah, and I know, I get them. I've gotten them.
Yeah.
Like, fucking not even good tats, but I love.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Stupid stuff like this.
But how confidently he
the
approached
guy
those
was
lines.
just, that was such
like,
a him, dude.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you're like, fuck it, it's, you know, this guy's good. It's not. But you're like, you know, it's like a cool ass Hawaiian tattooer that's like fucking straight up realistic. Like, he's doing it with like the poke, right? And then like you go and look at the tattoo heel, it like looks like shit. But you're like, you know what? I don't give a fuck. That's badass.
Yeah, and I be telling young artists too, it's like, because they always want to ask about like marketing stuff, and I'm just like, bro, like, do good work, because you can't try to you're not trying to convince a client that what you have is gold when it's really dirt. So you're trying to make marketing that's trying to convince them, I got the gold, but you're really selling dirt.
You only ensure that you don't have repeat clientele in the first place.
Yeah.
They'll come, they'll get a tattoo, and they'll never come back.
It's much easier to market when you know you're selling gold.
Yeah, totally.
Because then you're like confident about what
yeah,
you're
you
pushing.
can sit back and the proof could be just like the work can speak for itself.
Exactly. As opposed to trying to talk your way into a sale of something that's trash. You know?
Plus, I've never really been good at selling myself, you know, in all reality. Like, I can sell it when I know it's a good product.
I mean, you get away with just posting your work and you're just consistent because your girl helps you and stuff, but like you're very consistent, and I think that's all of it.
I think I watch YouTubers that I don't even like to do. I watch blacksmithing YouTubers just because they post every day, and
That's
it's
the
cool to see the knife
consistency.
they're working on.
Yeah.
I don't even make knives, bro. But
What's
there
that
is-
one show where they make swords and
Forging
that?
Fire School.
I love that
That's
one.
the show, though.
Yeah.
There's this
You're talking about
YouTuber
the
that-
actual YouTuber.
He's this guy, Alex Steele. He just does forging and stuff like that.
You know, my favorite one is the one that cleans the. They find like artifacts.
Oh yeah, he cleans guns and
Yeah.
shit. And he, like,
Leaving us again, dude?
No, support system out.
How dare you? No.
All right, I gotta go.
All right.
Oh, you're leaving us too?
Yeah, he's leaving us too.
I can sit here forever.
Getting there.
Yeah.
That is crazy.
Thanks, doggy.
Thank you.
Honestly, with this type of piece, I would keep the white minimal.
I'm just putting in the eye.
Just that.
Yeah. Just go with that.
No, I think it's good, bro. I think near the end of finishing up the back piece, you might go around and with a light gray and fade it out, like from not just that dark tone, but to like a much like softer ending, so that the whole back piece doesn't have to end in this like harsh background fading. It's either that, or you can try to find a border, like maybe there's something that comes up from his tricep here, and then there's like a border, like, you know, not leaves, but like if there was like leaves right here, you know, anything to like border it off, then you could bring that dark shading in, but at least it would all have a purpose because it's all framed out. But near the end of the back piece, you could start to, like, once you finish everything, you start to like re-look at everything all the way around the perimeter and see how it like ends off.
Yeah.
Like this is a nice natural end off right here, kind of like there's nothing too harsh or anything like that.
Yeah.
So I think that's important to think about, you know.
Okay.
But as far as like, this is done. You just need to pop the highlights in.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. All right, boys and girls, that is a wrap. A wrap on the back to back. No, it was really fun. I really enjoy doing this piece, and I like how it came out. I love the contrast, love the composition. It's very different. Jesus piece, everyone gets them, gotta do it different, and so we did. We used all of our techniques, all of our tools, everything that I teach in the course, the design course at iShineUniversity.com. I utilize all of that stuff to get the contrast, the pop, tell a story, make it meaningful, but also very aesthetic as a tattoo, which is what we're always trying to do. Tell a story, make it aesthetic, and tattoo it as solid as possible so that it can heal well. And that's a wrap for this back-to-back, but you guys need to know we're about to drop the secret community, the official secret community. It's gonna be big push and big deal for you guys to subscribe to. For those of you that don't know, it's not out yet. We have the Instagram, that's the community and all that stuff, but that's not the whole thing. We're doing a lot more content that you get access to on our website, and also access to a Discord, so you guys can chop it up and we could all chop it up, and we're gonna create something really special, something where we could all be together trying to learn together. If there's questions, they'll always be answered. If there's a need for some certain type of content, you guys are gonna get fed that as well. And a lot of good shit on there, a lot. And especially for people that can't afford the design course, this is a great opportunity for you guys to get access to some content that's really gonna push your game to the next level. And that's another vlog, boys and girls. Guess what? We're on to the next one. I'll see you then, and like always, let it shine, baby. Peace.